Seriously, seriously. Am I cursed? Am I cursed? Am I cursed? I don't think so, but I just seem to have a knack for liking things that sometimes are bad for me. Everybody remember Everclear and Jägermeister and yeah, Jungle Juice. If you've been to Korea with the soju, yeah, there's a few things that I have regretted in my life. Hey, we got George here. He pops in, says howdy. Hey, good morning, good evening. Yes, there has been things in my life that I've regretted, and looking back, I'm surprised I'm still alive. So it's so many times. Here's an interesting story. When I was a little kid, and it ends up that I like Marvel characters, and even back then I used to. Hey, we got Swedish Forge popping in. Hey, what's up? Keeping it real. So anyway, when I was a little kid, it ends up that I like Spider-Man. And I thought in my mind, it was like, you watch the cartoons and read the comic books, a lot of comic books. And it ends up that, Spider-Man, he shoots his web, and swings around and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I think we can do this. And so what I ended up doing was I got some rope and I tied it, well, it was actually my right wrist. I tied it around my right wrist. And then I climbed up on top of an old refrigerator in the garage. And then I moved over and I tied the rope onto the rafters inside the garage. And I was like, okay, and then kind of flipped it over, so it kind of moved and whatever. And then I was like, okay, so I'm going to pretend, I'll, shoot the web, and then what I'll do is I'll jump off the fridge, and then I'll swing, and then I can grab the other side, and I'll be Spider-Man. Yeah, some things that I like didn't turn out well. It just about pulled my arm out of socket. My feet didn't touch the ground. Unfortunately, we had kind of a high garage. And I think I was like, 7 years old, maybe, something like that. So it's like pulled my arm out of socket. I had rope burns on my wrist, and I'm hanging there, and it's like, the searing pain. No wonder I've got shoulder problems on that right side. So yeah, that was the last time I tried to spin webs as Spider-Man. So it was quite the interesting lesson. George says, Sir Isaac Newton taught you a valuable lesson. Yes, he did. Yeah, at least it wasn't Mad Dog 2020. I've had that too. And for those of you who don't know, Mad Dog 2020 is kind of the name that was given. That isn't the real name. The real name, the real words behind MD is Mogen David. It's actually a Jewish wine or alcohol beverage, and yeah, but everybody calls it Mad Dog 2020. So that's a little interesting note. It's made by Mogen David, so you can get your kosher on. So anyway, with that, yeah, there's stuff that I liked that sometimes didn't work out well. And we're finding this out, unfortunately, about the Prusa Core 1, because the Prusa Core 1L, remember how I was doing this in another video? Why would you call the Prusa Core 1L? I said we should have called it the Prusa Core 1G, or, the G1, or, something like that. It ends up, that would be, maybe this was a foreshadowing of what we're seeing, because Prusa is now having the green screen of death. Oh no, it's kind of a thing that's going on. And unfortunately, for those of you who don't know, I'm into 3D printing. I have the Creality K2 Plus, I have Saturn 3 Ultra, I do resin printing, FDM printing, and matter of fact, I'm printing as we speak. And I do miniatures, I do some cool stuff like this, Warhammer guy coming out of the Stargate, we got that, and then I'm doing larger prints and stuff like that. If you look in the background there, get in there, seriously. Anyway, so you can see the sword back here. We built that. We've got another sword, did some borderline stuff, some mask, helmet. I'm really kind of good into that. I'm really enjoying the process. And of course, you can see over there, painting miniatures and all that stuff. So I have been pining. I have been praying into the 3D gods, and I've been considering and watching way too many videos on the Core 1L. And this has come to fruition because the Core 1L has problems. Yeah. George says about the MD 2020 liver killer, yeah, along with soju and Jägermeister and, Everclear and all that stuff, jungle juice. We got John GG7D SD says you only bought MD 2020 if you couldn't afford Boone's Farms. That's true. Or what about the wide mouth Mickeys? Remember the green? Yes. Mickey's. Yeah, that was a good one there. Swedish Ford says, one question, what camera are you using for the stream? I'm using the Elgato Facecam 4K. And so it turns out pretty good. Got some controls. The software is pretty good. There are a few things that I wish it would do better. Like, for example, it doesn't have auto face tracking or autofocus. So when I do stuff like this, it's like really hard to get stuff to focus so that you all can see. So what I'm looking into is the YOLO Live S3, YOLO Live S3, and I'm thinking about putting that over there. Maybe we'll test it here, but put it up over there on the paint station. So that way when I got models and I'm painting them and I have the camera view from here, and well, you can see the camera view right there, that if I ended up like picking up a model and I'm painting it, right now I've got the Logitech Brio and it does a fairly decent job of focusing. But that Live works out pretty good. And it's got some real good autofocus. This is the Logitech Sony Brio. So it does okay. But from what I've seen on the videos, it ends up that the YOLO Live S3 seems to be more of a good autofocus camera, and I wasn't thinking about that when I picked up the Facecam 4K from Elgato. It's a good camera. It works. It's got a great picture, I think. But yeah, we're going to change that out a little bit. So I might keep the 4K for this one, and maybe I'll use this Facecam for another one, so that way we can have a dedicated line and camera for the K2 Plus cam, so we can do that. So I'm thinking about, or we could, have a long enough USB-C cable to go into the paint station, the airbrush station, all into the hobby room and the next room over there, something like a 30-foot USB-C cable. So we're thinking about that. So yeah, maybe we'll try out, probably next month, we'll probably get the after payday this month. Well, after we pay the bills this month, then I'll probably get that. And yeah, probably around the 15th or so, we'll put in an order. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that we got going on. I currently have some prints, but some people, unfortunately, like Grant, that we see here from 3D Musketeers, he's getting the red screen of death from his Prusa Core 1L. Again, it's coming to a Core 1L near you. Yeah, and this is the screen of death. So let's take a look at this, and we'll kind of crop this in because I want to make this big. And this is an issue. So take a look at this. So it ends up, this comes up with an error that says AC controller fault, power grid is operating outside of specification, scan me. And then, so Grant, being the guy that he is, what he ended up doing is scanning the QR code, and it basically said, yeah, you got unstable power. Your power grid's a little funky, like you're in California or something. And it's like, but he's in Florida. But Florida has a lot of power issues. I've heard it from him. I've heard it from numerous other people that I've known that have lived in Florida, and some people that I've met online. They said their power's really rough, so on their 3D printers they have UPSs. And people like Grant, it ends up he's got like other Prusa printers, and he has them hooked up. He has some UPSs and stuff like that, but he's never ever had any problems. Well, apparently the Core 1L has got problems to the point of where it's like, yeah, this stops printing. And for the Core 1L that is supposed to be almost like a prosumer type of printer, this has put Grant and other people into a position where they can't rely on their printer. So hopefully this can just be fixed with a simple, forget it, don't show this, don't stop the print or whatever, because the mains power is unstable. Yeah, you're gonna get issues like that. But a number of people have come out and said that they're having the same problem, where they've had the Mark IV, where they've had the Core 1, the Mini, and then other printers, numerous other printers, and they don't have any problems whatsoever with their fluctuating power or brownouts or things like that. Some people have UPSs, some people don't. You can have, I remember when I was working in industrial electronics, we had, I can't remember the name of that thing, but you would have things for sensitive equipment that you could hook up that would basically kind of filter the power, so it would get rid of the peaks and the valleys and keep it more stable. It's right on the tip of my tongue. What is that? We installed a number of them. But anyway, but you shouldn't have to do that. That's the problem. That is the problem, because you're buying an $1,800 printer. And the previous Prusa machines don't have this red screen of death. So yeah, this is kind of problematic. And so Grant from 3D Musketeers, he's been talking about it. I just saw his video, and yeah, he posted that 3 hours ago. 1766 views as of now, and he goes over basically the same thing. And I've been online, I've looked, and I found other people that have had this issue with the Prusa Core 1L, and that was the printer that I wanted. And so it was like, I'm pulling out my change, and I'm counting, I'm looking under the cushion and in the couch, and finding change and all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna save up, I'm gonna get this thing. Now it's kind of like, gotta hold on. Yeah, that seems to be an issue. And there's other problems in the 3D printing world as well. I know some people in the past have asked me what printer would I get if I'm, if I don't want to spend money like the K2 Plus, which isn't bad, but for space consideration, you're not concerned about a large build area, because most models, let's face it, most models are able to print on a 256 cube build area, and yeah, it's not a big deal. So I've recommended the A1, the Bamboo A1, and yeah, it ended up it had some problems. Apparently it had some problems in the past. There was the power cable debacle thing where there was strain, and that was causing a fire hazard thing. Well, now there's another problem. There's another problem on a board, and Grant has found this out, and a number of other people have seen it and reported it. There's like he doesn't physically have, but he knows of 70 people that have this problem where the machine is overheating, things are blowing out on a board, and it's getting to the point of where it's across multiple versions of the Bamboo A1. And that's problematic, because as a fire hazard, I print at night and I wake up in the morning and the print's done. How would you like to wake up and, your house is on fire? That would be bad. Like the Keating machine, I don't know if that was an isolated incident, but things like that is crazy. Hey, we got Leo here. Yeah, Happy New Year, Varied. What's up tonight? It's 11:50 at night in Denmark. but hello to all. It's 7:50 here in the morning here in Korea. We are doing good, and thank you for asking. George says, I wonder if it's an underlying firmware issue trying to have it already set up for the index system. That's a possibility. I mean, but when you're talking about induction heating, it's a pretty forgiving type of thing. And it actually uses less power, so I don't think it would be that finicky. But then again, it might. That's a good point. It could be. John, welcome to the show. Hey, look at he said, I got my first printer K2 Plus, and for the life of me, I cannot get PETG to print without some type of issue happening. Have you checked the right profile? There's a couple of things you need to do. Of course, you're going to need to have a clean build plate. Make sure you get all oils and everything cleaned off of that. And then you're also going to want, with PETG, you want to make sure that you've got a good profile. Probably want to do a calibration with a calibration run with like your temperature tower, things like that. But really, when I printed PETG with the K2 Plus, I just picked the generic profile and that you can pick in Creality Print, and I think I had to increase if I'm not mistaken, I think I had to increase the nozzle and the bed, each of them up 5 degrees. And of course that was verified through the temperature tower and stuff like that. So, and of course the clean build plate, cleaned that up. I'm really big on glue stick. I mean, the little glue stick that came with the K2 Plus, I use that, and because I've had a few prints, knotted here and whatever, and the glue stick fixes all those problems. But for adhesion, what you can end up doing is kind of increase the temperature on your bed, and that seemed to work well with the PETG. So take a look at that, and then look at the filament that you have as well. The filament will have the recommendations for the temperatures, and so if it's not Creality PETG, might be some differences in the settings. So again, you would have to do a temperature tower test and things like that to verify. Test, but verify. And then your PETG, you probably need to dry it out. There is something about drying out your filament, and that is actually a thing. That is actually a thing. So check that out and go over those things, see if that's something, and search Reddit, search some other things. Use Grok AI. I wonder you could probably use Grok, or I don't know, what's a Chat GPT 35 or whatever it's up to now. You can get those AI things are getting some really good information. Every once in a while they'll get some screwy stuff, and it's like, oh, that's not how that works. Because it's reaching, but it's getting better and better. But I would check those things and see if that could help you out. Again, it's just, I know it's a little bit frustrating, but does it print on everything else? Like, do you do PLA and other stuff? And have you had problems with those? I would say based off of, if you got a clean plate, if your filament's dry, there's some settings within the profile. Look at possibly increasing the heat for the nozzle and the bed temp. Let's see. Leo says, I also have a machine that overheats easily. Depends on who is standing beside me. Oh, no. Overheating is not good. Which is interesting, because that brings up a point. Somebody asked me the question and said, hey, why do you leave, like on my K2 Plus, I'll have that top window. I'll have that top, on the top window. I have the top window slid back so it's open. And somebody asked me about that. And it was like, well, why do you do that? And I said, well, that was the advice that was given to me when I was in prison. And everybody's like, what? You were in what? Prison? That got a little uncomfortable. Yeah, I was in prison, but I wasn't I wasn't permanently housed in a prison. I worked in prisons, and one of the prisons that I worked at had a lot of trades and different things for inmates for rehabilitation and fiberglass and metal shop and making license plates and furniture. It also had a 3D print farm. So I can't remember. I want to say they were old bed slingers. I can't remember the name of them. It's been so long. But with that, they would print stuff in PLA, and then the other stuff would be like ABS or ASA because they were doing medical casts and things like that, and then vapor smoothing them out. But with the PLA, with the bed slinger, it's open, and that allows the air to come in, and that air, when you're printing out PLA, it cools things down quickly. And so you don't want a real heated chamber when you're printing PLA because that's going to keep the PLA soft, and the weight of the PLA on subsequent layers can cause some warping issues. You can lose some fine details. If you have some overhangs, you might get some sagging, some lines that kind of, when you're bridging from one to another and there's nothing underneath, you might get those sags in there. So it's good to have a not heated environment when you're printing PLA. So that's kind of the rule of thumb, was the machine has to have some air circulation. So where we had all the printers in prison, in that room, we had, I think we had like 4 fans, and they would kind of oscillate and blow air, and that improved the prints of the PLA. So yeah, that's something that is kind of an interesting thing when you're talking about overheating. And when you're talking about Colorado, especially where we were at the prison, temperatures were getting massively hot. And so they didn't have an air conditioner in the room, and they had a lot of problems because that room was enclosed because they have to secure it. Otherwise, you have inmates making shanks and all kinds of crazy stuff on 3D printers. So it has to be secure, but they didn't have an AC unit. So they were wondering why all of those things, they had problems with the prints. Well, after some digging, we found out that, yeah, you have to have some cool air. So that's why some people would say, hey, you got to have to open the top, you open the door whenever you print PLA. That might not be much of a thing today, in the fact that kind of like the bamboo machines, and they have the automatic vents that open and do all that stuff. The Prusa Core 1 and the Core 1L ends up that it has an automatic vent system. But when you look at the vents and how much airflow you're going to get in, I think just using and leaving that top window on the K2 Plus, just kind of put it out so you've got like a gap about like that or whatever, and it's been good to go. So yeah. Here you are now. Nice, man. Just received some Dark Angels Demons Rhino doors for my fell blade, along with Legion DA decal sheet. Oops. Freudian slip. Freudian DA decal sheet, not shite. Cool. Yeah, I'm probably going to be doing more miniature painting since we've done a number of miniatures. Of course, I've done resin printing, and those always come out great when you're talking about resin prints. They come out awesome. But I've also started printing miniatures with the K2 Plus, and I'm surprised at the results. I am honestly surprised at the results. And then once you prime it and throw some paint on there, it's not bad at all. Just using some default settings, 0.4 nozzle with a 0.08 layer height. It's been pretty good. And so I ordered a 0.2 nozzle from Micro Swiss because I have the Micro Swiss hot end, which is really nice. I had like 3 or 4 clogs with the K2 Plus stock, and it's like I couldn't clear the clog. And I think maybe it had something to do with heat creep, where heat builds up and it just kind of pre-softens the PLA, and that's where you end up. It goes up into the extruder kit, and it can kind of soften that up, and it kind of bunches up. I've seen that, and even though I had that top glass open, but when I replaced that hot end with the Micro Swiss hot end, I've had 600 plus hours and no clogs. So the first 400 hours I had like 3 or 4 clogs, 3 clogs, and then I was having some issues. I didn't clean it or anything. I just ordered the micro Swiss, and I haven't had a clog yet. So that is a very worthwhile upgrade, in my opinion. The hot end from micro Swiss heats up faster, cools down quicker, seems to be more efficient, and you get a little bit more flow. So if you're looking for something. And then their nozzles are pretty good. They also have, what is that, the obsidian nozzle or whatever, and that can handle some abrasive things, but that's like $124, $125. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Swedish Ford says, don't you make big figures? Yeah. We got, he's big compared to a 32 millimeter. But then, now are we talking about resin or are we talking about FDM? Because I've done both. So I guess it's time for show and tell. Okay. For a little printing there, yeah, I've done the little Hulk here and airbrushed him and painted him up. He turned out quite famously. So yeah, the Hulk is probably one of my favorite characters. So I've done that. This is, I think this is a resin print. This is a resin print. And that looks pretty good. But if we're talking about FDM print, this is a larger print of FDM printed on the K2 Plus. This is the Ivor. I think you can get them on My Mini Factory. This is a 32 millimeter figure, and I blew him up, scaled him up, and yeah, the details are quite impressive. I think it's a 0.16 layer height that I ended up doing. So yeah, I've done this one. That turned out really nice. And then, of course, I have the bigger version of the Hulk that I FDM printed. So he's been waiting. He's mad because I haven't painted him. It's just like, just some again, 0.16, and the details are really great. So we've done that, and then we've done, of course, the big sword that we see here. Printed that. I printed the rifle that's up here. It's kind of hard to see. That's the Borderlands rifle. And then here's another Warhammer one that we printed out since we're doing the show and tell. And this was also printed on the K2 Plus. So I think this is 0.16 as well. So pretty good detail on this. And I think I got this one off of Colts 3D. We just kind of, it's in black. Did a little bit of dry brushing there. So yeah, but I'm looking at doing even bigger prints. I want to do some cosplay armor, and I want to do one life-size big Hulk, and either Hulk or the Ivor. I figured that would be the one thing that I want to end up doing. So yeah, it is quite the hobby, and it keeps me busy. So you know the little saying, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my hands busy with normal things. So yeah, but that's kind of concerning. That Prusa red screen of death, that is not something that I think people want to experience. That's definitely not a thing. And is it a deal killer? No, because we've seen Prusa with some of their other machines, their XL. It took a long time for them to get the XL in a position to where it could work well. So many times I almost bought that, but then it was like, let me hold off and see what's happening. That's kind of a big clunky looking machine, and it was like, it's going to get better over time. So I don't want a big, huge machine like that. I do want a big build area, but I kind of waited and I took the gamble on the K2 Plus. But it's interesting that we don't see this with the other printers, this red screen of death that we ended up seeing. And quite the interesting thing there that we've got. Might try to scan that and see what it says. wonder if I can scan it. Dun 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 dun. Dun. And scanning. Boom. Oh, it's working. It said, AC controller fault for Core 1L. Okay. So we don't know if this is for the Core 1 or just Core 1L, but it says Core 1L. It says power grid is operating outside of specification. The error message is triggered in case of an issue of electrical network. Error name, AC controller fault, code 35337, how to fix it. Ensure the printer is connected up directly to stable power. Avoid using UPS units or generators. It says if there's issue with the printer connected directly to an electrical socket, we recommend checking for issues on the electrical grid. The power supply operates with an input range of 100 to 240 VAC, 50 to 60 hertz. And we've got some people here that are reporting and saying that they've had problems. I've got this plugged into the, I experienced this and it's plugged in the wall, had this plugged into a UPS, happened to me also. Yeah, it's probably not a good thing. Probably not a good thing. And the interesting thing is that you have so many companies out there that are producing 3D printers that have dual voltage capabilities, and you never see this, including Bamboo, including Cheedy, including Elegoo, including a number of other companies that produce 3D printers, and they don't have something like this. So maybe George is on the right track. Maybe this is something that is going to be connected to the Bond Tech index system, with the induction coil heating and so on and so forth. But they had that system on a smaller, it was before they had the Core 1. Of course, we also saw it on the Core 1 as well. But interesting how it's not a problem on the other machines, or at least we don't know that it was a problem, so we're going to assume, so we'll just kind of take that with a grain of salt, how this wasn't a problem, but now it's a problem on the Core 1L. So maybe this is just something where it's like, you got to be within these parameters. Maybe you just need to tweak the upper and the lower a little bit, and we won't have this problem. Yeah, you're going to have some power fluctuations. We have power fluctuations here in Korea, not like we did in the United States, that's for sure, in Colorado. So, but yeah, really surprised. And Grant was he's a little pissed off, because if you're spending $1,700, $1,800 for a machine, Prusa, that is supposed to be like a prosumer type of machine, targeted towards businesses, and because that's a hefty amount of money that you're going to spend for a printer. So it's kind of geared towards that, or just esoteric hobbyists. Yeah, this definitely would be a problem. So yeah, I'm going to have to put the Core 1L on hold. Of course, we'll keep track of that. And then, of course, the Bamboo, Grant was the one that kind of highlighted and spearheaded the thing with the Bamboo A1 with the problems that they had. And that has been an issue as well. Here we're going to take a look at it, and you can end up seeing, with Bamboo, the 20 for the A1, it ends up there's a 2024 cable recall. Printer sold before January 30th, 2024, with the letter A and the 6-digit damaged cables. Yeah, so you had some cables that were messed up, and they lead to electrical shock or fire. So they were pretty good at that. They were pretty good at responding to that. Of course, a number of people had to complain, and then they sent out, it's like, oh, well, you just need to print out this little cable strain relief thing there. And it's like, that's cheesy. That's not something that should be done. And then I guess what they ended up doing is sending out replacement cables. Power board, this is the issue here. The new issue is going to be this one here, the power board issue. That is going to be the big one there. Nope, that's not what I want. What do I want? Boom, boom, boom. So this one is the big one as well. And this is the one that Grant has been talking about, and how there's problems with this board. A new separate issue involving the AC power distribution board's NTC thermistor, which may overheat during heavy usage, causing surrounding components to melt. Yeah, that's probably a thing. And he's had boards, like I said, he's got about 70 of these things that he knows of that people have reported and sent him pictures and the whole 9 yards of different versions of the A1. So it's not particular to just one batch. It's going over multiple years. So yeah, it needs to be taken care of. So yeah, be careful with the bamboo A1. That seems to be a thing, and more people are complaining about this as well. You know, there's massive heat that's involved on the board. It's melting other products or things on the board, not to mention plastic covers and so on and so forth. And fire's not good. Okay. Multiple cases of charred or melted casings have been reported, particularly during rapid warming or sustained heavy operation. And, that's kind of a thing because a lot of people have bamboo machines in their print farms because they do such a good job. So you're running them overnight. That's probably running it a little bit hard. Would you want to have a fire hazard in the middle of the night as you're sawing logs and your printer's on fire? No, probably don't want to do that. And just for the fact that, fire's not a good idea in this situation. So, that's what we got going on. Let's see, we got a Swedish Forge says, do you use a 0.2 nozzle on your K2 when printing miniatures? No, I was using the 0.4 nozzle. Kind of like the stock nozzle that comes on the K2 Plus. Had the 0.4 on the Microsys hot end, so I have that nozzle. So no, I just set it at a layer height of 0.08, and let me show you what we ended up with. We did pretty good. So we've got this one, and where are the other ones? Oh, there's the one guy. Where's the other? There he is. So, let me do this over on the on here because it's got a better camera. So here is the one, and that came out pretty good. So he's got some good details on him. And again, this was 0.08. And well, let me see if I can. Let me do the overhead light. Maybe we can get a little bit better. So you can see some of the details in there. But he turned out pretty good. And of course, the paint hides a lot of issues. And then we did, this is truly a 32 millimeter. And there's how he came out. His axe is a little messed up. I mean, it's got some muddled details and everything, but it's very recognizable. And of course, if you put this on a table and you're a couple feet away, you're not going to notice all the little imperfections that we end up seeing on those missing details. And here is the other one. That we end up seeing there. And again, that's that 0.4 and nothing real crazy. We didn't do like crazy settings like some people do, or put it into a separate Blender program, all that stuff. Turned out fairly well. So yeah, not a bad deal at all. So it's like daytime here, 8:14 in the morning. But yeah, it turned out pretty good. So with the 0.2 nozzle that we have coming in from Microsys, I'm really looking forward to that. Probably throw that in there. We'll do the same settings like we did with those, and then we'll do a comparison. I'll do those same two figures and then see how that turns out. And then we'll do another one where I will tweak a number of other settings, like slowing things down, so that way the print time will increase, but it'll slow things down so we can get some more attention to detail on that. So we'll give that a try. Swedish Ford says, I'll try painting miniatures as I only print large figure prints. Yeah, I mean, excuse me, the guy that got me into it was Starkiller, a guy who's come on the stream and chatted and stuff like that, and he's the one that got me interested. I've seen other videos on YouTube about it, but it was just like, resin printer. That's the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme of, printing, and when you're doing miniatures, because of the crazy detail that you can get. I mean, let me see if we can get where's a real good one. You want some crazy details on a resin printer, printed at 50 microns. Now, he's not painted or anything, but look at the details on that. Holy crow. I mean, and some of the details didn't print out, but resin printing, the individual chains and everything that's on there, that is just insane. So, yeah, I mean, just wild, wild stuff. And that's a resin printer. But that's what you're going to get with a resin printer, You're not going to get that type of detail with an FDM printer. Like here's the Big Brother version of that guy. And yeah, you can see we got a bunch of details on here that we can't see on that miniature. So like the chain coming across his back, this chain isn't there because it's unsupported. You can see a little gap back there. And a lot of other details like a chain across, on his shoulder and stuff like that. Some of those didn't come out on the 32 millimeter on the K2 Plus, but you paint it and set it down 2 feet away from you, and it's a playable figure for sure. So, yeah, not bad at all. It's an interesting little thing. I don't think I would print out like a multiple figures, for tabletop games. But it's good to know that you can, because there's probably some people that don't like the smell of resin. They don't like resin printers because of the cost associated with it. You got to get the machine, you got to get the wash station, you got to get the cure station. You've got smelly ass resin, so you're going to have to probably vent that stuff out with some type of ventilation system or grow tent to put your resin printer in. So there's that. And then, and then once the print's done, you pull that out, you got to clean it, you got to wash it, with IPA usually, and isopropyl alcohol, so that smells. That's not a happy thing to do. So, and then you got to have a UV cure station, and then you can prime and paint. But the details are excellent, but all of those other things can be cons, and if you're living like an apartment, or maybe you just don't like the smell of, resin, the VOCs associated with that, or your significant other doesn't like the smell of resin, maybe 3D printing out your miniatures is the answer. So, yeah, I can't say that it's worthless, but it's nice. I mean, if worse came to worse, you could print out your strike team or whatever it is for tabletop gaming or display on a 3D printer and get some pretty decent results. I mean, I showed that 32 millimeter, the ones that I printed on the K2 Plus, to my wife, and she didn't know the difference. She's like, it's a little muddled, as far as the details. And I said, yeah, a little bit. She goes, but it turned out really nice. And then she pointed out some of the errors on my painting. But, put it down on the table and say, well, what do you think? Oh, it looks pretty good, So, yeah, it is what it is. Good stuff. So, yeah, I'll be doing that a little bit. Like I said, I don't think that'll be the mainstay of my channel. We'll just kind of dive into that a little bit and see what happens. Swedish Ford says FDM better with the zero point 0.2 nozzle printing miniatures. Oh yeah, I've seen some pictures, and people go so deep into printing miniatures with their FDM printers and using that zero point 0.2 nozzle, and then they've got settings out the wazoo, and a print, like the guys that I showed you, those took like 2.5 hours each. You have people that are spending like 7, 12, 16 hours on one miniature. That's kind of crazy, but they slow things down, the speeds down to help with cooling, to address and get more details, slowing everything down, that definitely helps. So yeah, some of these people are really going knee deep into this, and it's cool that you can do it if you want to spend, 7, 8 hours printing out one miniature. I guess you could do it at night. You do that, just let it run all night and wake up in the morning and have your miniatures, if you don't like the resin smell. Let's see what else we got going on. I'm printing out. I've been working on a holder, because when you paint these things, usually you have this is like a Games Workshop little holder, and you can put the model in there and spread it apart, and it holds it so you can hold it and paint it and do all this stuff. So I bought one of these, and I thought, there's that, but I wanted to have a holder that had like a little brace or a stand, and I didn't want to buy another one because that would take like 30 seconds on Amazon. I would just wait for it delivered and it'd be done. So I ended up thinking, I dabble in Tinkercad. I'm known to be a tinker. I'm a CAD extraordinaire when it comes to Tinkercad. It's kind of like I'm an architect and I have a box of crayons. That's kind of the level where I'm at. But I decided, hey, let's screw that. Don't order it off of Amazon. And what we could end up doing is let's just go and let's spend countless hours on Tinkercad. So what we're going to do is I'll show you the mess that is. Yeah, does that look messy? Yeah, all kinds of stuff. It was like and different types of iterations and stuff. And there was one there, and that one was like way too. Originally, what I was going to end up doing was making this, and this bottom piece comes off, and so there's this little nub right there that you can see, and I was going to make another holder that kind of like this, where you've got the hole, but then it would have an attachment so I could have the little brace that would go up, and so that way I could hold it like this, or have a brace and have a better hold on it, more points of contact, 1, 2, 3 points of contact gives you a real stable surface, and then you could end up, painting, and it's a thing. So, but then I was like, well, wait a second. If I throw this up onto like Creality Cloud as a free print and stuff like that, people can download, they could have some varying tolerances, and that hole might be too small, it might be too big, and so it was like, I need to redo everything. And so I spent, as you can tell, I went through countless iterations. But this is the one that I'm going to end up doing, and this is actually printing out. I don't know if it's done yet. Is it done? It might be done. Nah, it's got to. Reconnecting. I don't know. For some reason, there was an update on this on the Creality print, and it's had problems when I minimize the program and come back. It doesn't connect back up. So maybe 30 minutes back that we got left, something like that. So anyway, that's printing out, and so the idea. I threw out the previous version. I printed one out. I had a bunch of stuff. That some notes on here because the previous version had problems, and like, I see some highly technical notes. There's the technical notes. You're like, oh my gosh, he wasn't kidding about the crayon thing. No, I'm not. Yeah, there was a number of problems with it, but I figured print it out and then we can make these adjustments. So, yeah, kind of an interesting thing. So this is the bottom of the handle. This is the previous version, and it ends up that this was, let's bring this down. It probably wasn't a good idea because this here, I had this little nub, and that's where a rubber band is going to go around the other side. This is actually on the bottom. And yeah, I didn't, as this surface here is going to be on the build plate, I wasn't really thinking about that. I thought, I'll just throw supports on there, it'll be good to go. Yeah, the recesses came out good, but those little hook thingies that I ended up making, those didn't do well at all. And so I changed that to do this, and so that those same type of hooks, they're a little bit beefier, but they're on the same plane as everything else. So all that's going to rest on the build plate. So with this, as this prints, we'll need minimal supports, and I think we'll, with everything being on the same plane, I think that will work out a lot better, and we won't have the issues that we have. And of course, we'll have to bump up the number of walls, the infill, and things like that. So there's that. The previous, do I have that? No, I don't have the previous one. So basically what this ends up doing is kind of this here. Let's make this a different color. And so that way, what this ends up doing is that this sits basically up on top, and you have holes on the bottom of this, kind of like there. And that is going to marry up with those little half spheres or whatever. And that will basically go like that. And of course, it's going to go up to where it's like, boom, like that. So we're good to go on that. And then we have these two pieces here, one there and one there, that are part of the model, because on the previous one, you had 3 of them, and then you wrapped a rubber band around it, and we had some issues with that. So, yeah, there's that. And I just thought of another issue that I need to do with this. We need to put a rubber band around the center of this thing. And, oh, we do have it. A little cutout there for the rubber band to go through on this side. This is why I like doing the strings, because this kind of helps me. So I need to have a little cutout right on here. A little bit, I think. Maybe, maybe not, because I do have this here. And let's try to do this. I'll make that our, and that is going to fit in there like that. Okay, so I think crisis averted, because basically we're going to end up doing, come on, is the rubber band is going to go around here. Maybe I need to bring that down a little bit more, because that rubber band is going to go, yeah, I need to redesign this. I wasn't thinking. I need to bring that down more so it's more in line with this here. So, okay. But you kind of get what I'm talking about. So with the rubber band wrapped around there, that will provide the tension to lock in and have that other edge lock in the base. So, yeah, hopefully that'll work out. We'll see how that goes. And that seems to be a little high. So we might have to go through and, because that is sitting on there. We could bring this down just a skosh. And maybe a little bit, maybe just one more dink, like that, yeah. So that way we can, what we can end up doing, ooh, and we got some issues. Look at that, we got some issues, damn it. Look at that little piece there. That's not supposed to be there. That wasn't there before. Oh, it's because I combined it. Yeah, Tinkercad is kind of squirrely. So anyway, this thing is going to be able to go back and forth. The rubber band that goes around the top is going to add the tension, and then you have that little pull thing so that you can pull it out and it'll snap in there and hold the base in there. So that's kind of what we're doing. And then that thing, we've got that. But if you wanted to put a brace on here, here's the other thing we could end up doing is we could do this, and that will go up on there, and then this piece will go on top of that and marry up with the holes like that. And so there you can end up having your, let me get rid of that, that's just bugging me. So there, what you can end up having is your miniature stand, or the clamps that hold your miniature on there, and then you have this little brace here. So you can either do that one, and then another one I saw online that looked pretty good. The idea was having kind of like that. And that is, okay, that needs to go over because I think I ended up doing that so we have enough room. I think. We'll find out because it's printing. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing. But yeah, so there is still something else that I need to do on that. And that's playing around with that thing there. So we'll do that and that. We'll move that there. And we'll just drop that. And this, we're going to have to move this up. Well, actually, we can just... You see why it takes me so long to build stuff? It's like, yeah, it's so that'll go like that, and then I'll be able to kind of do that. Stomach's growling. So I need to do something with that because that's where the rubber band is going to be, is right along there. So I need to drop this down and have a, maybe just drop it all the way here and then just come up and then have a little notch. So yeah, I can fix that. So there's that. This, I need to do that. And that was the little ring that we ended up doing. But I still have those little funky things that I didn't have before. Let's undo that. No, that's good. And see how they went. No, they're still there. Seriously, really? And now they're gone. Okay. So I have some issues to take care of. I'm wondering if I can do this and this and this and combine those and not get that little funky, nope, look at that. It pops right back in there. You son of a bitch. Pardon my French. Maybe. Let's do this. We'll make a copy. And then we'll click. No, I don't want that. Dang it. We'll click that. And then we'll click this. And we'll join that. And will that... Nope, look at that. It popped right back in there. And that right there. But if I know you're all getting sick. You're like, what is he doing? But if I undo that, let's see. They go away. Good Lord. Seriously. How is that going to work? Now, the good thing is I can take, well, I need to get rid of one of those. So that's good. And I can click that. I could join that. And these, I can join that to that. So that's good. It's just that right there that is so odd. Seriously. Why? And it only pops up. So if I take this and select that and join it, okay, that worked. Nope, it came right back. Look at that. You son of a gun. I should probably learn a different program. Because that's a glitch in the matrix. There's one other thing I can end up trying is I can select all of these and they have another combining feature, which is this one here, bundle the group together. And let's see if we do the bundle the group instead of doing the union. Keep the fingers crossed. But will that, okay, that just shows all your parts. I wonder if I can export that as an STL and have that come out with the those notches in the side. Let me undo that because I want to copy that there because we might need that for our other little piece. But let's just go ahead and we'll take all these. We'll do the same thing. We'll do the union group. And it'll allow you to see all the pieces, but it will keep it all together. So if I, if it's as a union, this will move all together. It just lets you see everything. But whether it hollows out that as an STL, let's try downloading that and we'll see what happens. Interesting. We'll see what happens. So with that, let's bring in our Creality K2 Plus and we will open up our downloads. I'll call this improved rail or slider. We'll just call it a slider. I don't know what else we can call it. And then we'll drag this into Creality Print. So we'll take that, we'll drag that in there. And, oh, for the love of God. Oh, it worked. No, it didn't. It didn't put those things in there. The notches in the side, it didn't have those. But I got the notches on the side on that one. But then that one looks good. No, it's got that little thing too. That is printing out right now, so we'll have to see. Let's make this a different color. So that way we know the difference. And maybe it's just a glitch in the program and that won't print out. Yeah, interesting. I didn't notice that. Look at that, just that little piece right there, that little bastard. That little sneaky snake. So we'll see what happens. And then the other thing I could end up doing is maybe taking this and exporting it as an STL as well. And we could see what happens with that. The joys of 3D printing. Sweetest Ward says, is it a good program? I use FreeCAD. Tinkercad is you have Blender, you have Fusion 360, you have those things that are highly technical, huge learning curve, and then you have Tinkercad, which is like a kid with some crayons. At least that's at the level I'm at. And it's kind of user intuitive, like you said, but it's really limited. There's stuff that I wish I could do that I obviously can't do. Some people can do it, but it's just so many steps. And so, yeah, I probably need to look into that. And Swedish says he's talking about that FreeCAD. Do I have that? I don't know. Ultimaker Cure. I got a bunch of slicers. Holy crow. FreeCAD. No, I don't have FreeCAD. Let me see. Let me check. Check, baby. 1, 2, 3. Don't. No, I don't have FreeCAD. I had Fusion 360. And then that just hurt my brain trying to do stuff like that. So maybe I need to, I really need to just, FreeCAD. Maybe I just need to do the FreeCAD thing and see what happens. Yeah, interesting. So I have an interesting dilemma that we need to look at. Pile 3D, hey, he's welcome to the show. We're just talking about some stuff, miniature things that I'm printing, and matter of fact, let me do a little quick update. I'll run into the other room because I don't have, obviously the camera's not working. Pile 3D says, I struggle with FreeCAD. It's cool, but I'm much faster with Fusion. I need to buckle down and like I said, the Tinkercad is kind of like the crayons and paper level for me. I can do decent, I guess. I've made a few things. I wish I could do more. But yeah, I think it's getting to the tipping point where I'm going to have to try something else. So maybe, I don't know. It's just, I want something easy. Everybody wants easy and free. That's what we all want. They want it free and easy. 3D CAD Multitool is based on OpenCAN CAD, which is the kernel that FreeCAD uses. Cool. Let's see, FreeCAD. I'll take a look at some FreeCAD stuff there. Yeah, FreeCAD. Download. Yeah, I really just need to buckle down. Holy crow, could you imagine building something like that? That's insane. And some people do stuff like that on Tinkercad. So open source, real life objects any size, parametric modeling allows you to easily modify your design by going back into your model history and changing parameters. Oh, that would be nice if you had a timeline. Great. 3D from 2D and back. Wow. Oh my gosh. Seriously? That is insane. That is insane. Holy crow. That's some pro level stuff there. That is like FreeCAD designed a whole, look at that. I couldn't imagine that. That is crazy. Holy crow. I don't know. Maybe I need to get into that and take a look at that. Swedish says he loves the FreeCAD. Loves the FreeCAD. Yeah, it's getting to a point where I'm gonna have to, unless FreeCAD or unless Tinkercad comes out with some new functions to keep my hunger satiated, I think I'm gonna have to either do FreeCAD because it's free, Fusion 360, I think. But man, that learning curve is huge, and it makes no sense to me. But then again, I'm the crayon guy. With that, let me run over to the next room, and we'll take a look and see how that goes. We'll just put you on there. You could look at the terrain features that we did. And I'll dip into the other room and we can see, oh yes, it is done. Oh no. Oh we had an issue. We had an interesting issue, folks. We have spaghetti, and I've never seen this before. This is a doozy. This is a doozy. It is a doozy. So here it is. And then we've got, look at that. What do we got going on there? We have, it was doing good. It was doing good. Look at that. We got kind of all kinds of filament. Strands of PLA goodness doing the spaghetti thing. And the spaghetti finder on the K2 Plus didn't work. Oh, look at that. That's what it was. It knocked the model over because the support came off on this. And then we found a, so obviously the nozzle hit that, and then it just kind of printed and it went over here, so we had some massive stringing. Okay. Let's take a look-see. Let's see. Oh, catch up on some stuff. Pile says I have it installed always. Nice to have. Good file viewer for step files. Who designed them? So cool. If you're not sure which one you're talking about there, who designed what. Terry says, good morning. Good morning, sir. Howdy. George says, ouch. Orange hand covering the eyes. No! But interesting. So yeah, we've got the, we can actually see we've got filament. So yeah, that little piece got hit. Interesting. And we found a weak point there. So even though I had a support on there, this support failed, even though I had glue stick on there. Interesting. So you can see that. Okay. I already thought this would be a problem because on the previous version, this kind of snapped real easy. So I have another version. And actually, if we go back and take a look at that, I kind of already saw that was going to be an issue. Because like the original one just had that shape there, kind of what we see there, and it snaps right there. Imagine that. What are the odds? So with this one, I put in a brace there, and then I just added this little rib here on there, and so that way we can have some more beef there and a little bit more geometry to try to add some strength to that. So yeah, okay. So I kind of figured that might be an issue. So with that, that's why I ended up on this plate. I printed out another one like that one there because I just had a feeling. So we got like dude in his wild hair. We need knifage. Where is the knifage? Oh, I think I got it in the desk drawer. Do we have one? Yes, we do. But other than that, came out good. So a little bit little bit of love on there, and we'll be good to go. So this turned out good. We got some good stuff there. And I think there's enough material here where this is going to be strong enough. But if I wanted to, I might end up, like we see here, that's the piece that we're looking at, is this one here. Let me get rid of this. So that's the piece that we're looking at now. And I might add a brace on the center there. So just for some grins and giggles on the center of that. So up against here, we'll just put like a little brace in there and we should be good to go. But the came out great. Oh, I need my little poker so I can get those pieces out. Space Ford says, well, let's go. Pilot 3D says, I get textured beds get worn out after 2,000 hours or so PLA. Okay, well, I don't have that many on there, but that's good to know. Thanks. Elsa says, with more supports, the print should be fine. Yeah, a little bit of a wider base. Yeah, I could have painted on some more. You can put down the model on the bed. Oh yeah, like you said, to drop it down just a hair, so that way you definitely get adhesion on that. George says that is actually a good warning for me because I use a textured bed. And that's how it is with printing sometimes. Sometimes you hit it out of the park, other times not so much. And then we got the comment, yeah, textured bed is really good. Is a really good bed. I only use it too. Yeah. So we got that. So I printed one as a laying down orientation. So we'll see how that works, how that looks. Because I just had this weird feeling. Right, a little bit of a messed up edge, but we'll probably fix that. But yeah, it's a little bit better with that little cross piece right there. But I think with the rib going up that is going to be that I have on the model going up that center, that half circle type of thing channel, then we could print it in the upright position. I think we'd be okay. Because I would definitely want to print it in this position here. But with that, all the recessed areas came out perfect. On this one, we have to find the recesses. And kind of like, where's Waldo? And that one should be there, yeah. That one should be about there. So we're getting there. I'm just digging those little supports out. Come on, come to daddy. Boom, so we got that. Got a definite seam on there, that's for sure. But other than that, it came out nice. Top looks real good. Now the bottom, let's see if we can see how that is going to work out. Swedish says, you don't need any support for the small holes. Yeah, on one of them it didn't. Which one? Well, on the previous one that I did, it didn't have any. But on these, it did. So I'm not sure what the deal is because it did put supports on this one this time. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. We got that. And this time I ended up using tree supports instead of regular supports. So I don't know if that was an issue with it. So we're getting there. But it's coming out good. Not as clean as I would like. Well, I mean, it's just the brim on it. That's what it is. The supports themselves are coming off nice. It's just the brim that is hanging on to the model that is causing a little issue. But other than that, so there we go. So that works. Anybody else have plastic on their floor? Like Legos? You step on them and you're like, hey, wait a second. At least they're not Lego. Man, I got strings of filaments. Okay, that came off easy. That. This is the piece that I need to adjust. But that came out nice. So, but it's okay. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, that came out nice. So yeah, on this, yeah, that came out nice. But did it have those little boogers on there? A little remnant that we ended up seeing. No, we don't. I know it's hard to, because it doesn't want to focus. But no, those didn't come out. So that little artifact that we had in Tinkercad didn't come out. And then we got enough room. We got a lot of room on that. So the idea is, and we got the those we got to dig out. Hey, dun 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 dun. Pile 3D says, yeah. Support parts all over the place. Ferrithus, hey, Mr. Ferrithus is here. Good morning or good evening, sir. We're trying out some stuff. And ooh, interesting. I think I might have found an issue. More redesign. But it might not. I think it'd be good enough. I got a tiny little hole in there, but I don't have it on the other side. Looks like a collet you're making. Yeah, we're trying to make a thing so that way we can put a miniature on there, and this will be held by rubber bands, so this will move and we'll have a rubber band around this to hold in the base, But we're also going to be using there's some rubber band, but I still need to make some adjustments. We're getting there. So the whole idea is we've got this here, and I've got it so these are actually lined up. Before they weren't. And so that way we could take like rubber band, or this is a hair tie. So that would fit in like that, and it, oops. And that would fit into the bottom there. And we could do the same thing with the other ones. And the last one, definitely have to make these a little beefier because the other one snapped off. But yeah, so we got something like that. So that'll hold that in there. And I did it backwards. My own design, I'm like, hey. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Now we're going to put this piece in, which is going to slide, but I wanted this to actually be down here. So I got to do some redesign, but maybe this will work. So we put the rubber band. Okay. That's kind of working, but I think this needs to come down. That's my bad. And then we can just put this over here. And put these over the rubber band. So that way it holds the rubber band in, because I saw on the previous version that we were having some issues because that rubber band didn't have enough of a little channel through there. And there, we've got even a little handle there. And we will take a 32 millimeter mini. So this is an original Warhammer one. And now, will it fit? That is the question. John. It's alive! Okay, so that's the first one. Let's not celebrate too early. And this one is this miniature that we ended up printing on our K2 Plus. What is the base on that? That is 45, that's 46. I think I've got another, this bigger one. I think that's what I ended up doing. Okay, this is 49.48, so basically 50. And we'll see if this base can work. Just pull that back. Can we get a little bit more love? Aha! It works. Holds it in there enough. Of course, we could do that. And will it be enough? I mean, could it work on that one? No, it's not long enough. So you'd have to do it. Yeah, it's starting to come out. So you have to do it on that level there. But it works. It actually works. Okay, so that's the first thing. The other thing that I wanted this to do was to be able to put the brace on there. So the brace is going to be like that. So you have to take this thing apart, take these off. And again, there's probably more mechanical ways that you could do this so that you're like, hey, well, this is all automatic or whatever. Let's see. Let's see if we can move this. No, we don't want that there. It's going to be a little odd because that's going to stay there. See how we got an issue? So it's either going to be like that, but that's not bad because then we could just go like this and put it over and do that, and then do this and then do that. And so now we have the brace. So now we can put in our miniature and we have our little brace that we can end up holding, that if we wanted to, you know, have a different position in which to hold it, you know, you could do something like that, like that. Piece you got to get off of there, and that's fairly good. So yeah, so let's take a look at the larger one and see how this works, see how it looks, and if it works as well with the 50 millimeter. And there it is. So yeah, that can work. Kind of like that. You can do painting that way. Okay. Let me see. Trying to think. Yeah, I don't think I could make that any longer. I was thinking about making this little slider longer, but it's getting to the point of where if I made this whole thing, this piece longer, then I'd have to move these in, and that's a pain. Okay, but that works. Okay, so a little adjustment. So now the other thing, let's try out the other one. The shield wall, and see if that works. Let's see. Yes, it is the painting tool. Swedish Forge says, what time is it where you live? Here in Sweden, it's 1:01. Ooh, 1 a.m. It's 9:08 right now here in Korea in the morning. So, again, I got pieces of plastic there. Yeah, so it's just about 10 after 9 in the morning. Very nice. I love tool making. I'm struggling. I'm doing what I can with the few brain cells that I have. Very nice. Hand purple piece. Cool, cool. So let's try out the shield thing and see how that one works. So we can just take that off. Now the shield is going to be interesting because we ran into a problem. Because we don't have a place for, we need a hole. We need a hole. Unless we move this. Can we rotate this and get, nope, we're going to need a hole. So it would be a good idea to put a hole up on that piece there, right in there in the center. Ferris, isn't the struggling part of the fun? I know, it is. So, get our acrylic paint pen. And I'll end up, this is real scientific, huh? So basically, we're just going to have to draw that line so that it's centered on those nubs there. And then we can end up doing a hole. And with that hole, not a round hole, come on. Okay, a little bit better. So we'll put a hole there, but then we should still be able, maybe, to yes, okay. We're good on that. And so we can have that right there. I guess what we could end up doing, if I really wanted to, I just kind of put that over and boom like that for now. So, but once we get the hole in there, then we'll be able to put that through, and then we have our shield. So then, I don't know, I saw some people doing this and it was like, that might be a thing that people would want. To where you could kind of have something to hold more real estate than you do with this here. Try to hold it like that. And so you could do some painting like so. And we got some little nubs back there for, you know, a little bit of grip. So let's see if it'll work with the 50. Hopefully my measurements are good. And yeah, for the most part, it's not bad. It kind of depends on the miniature and how, because I didn't want this sticking out so far. And again, this is an oversized miniature, so I think we're good on that. It clears all of that, so my measurements was good on that. So, but there, yeah. So that way, if you want to hold it like this, and you could end up doing your painting, or if you wanted to rotate it like this, and then you could have a stable base of which to paint, and you could actually put your hand together so you have 3 points of contact, your elbow, your hand, and this other hand, and then you could end up, you know, just doing your painting. Stability is key. So yeah, okay. We got some good stuff. This is the version 2. We'll have to put that little rib thing on there. That'll give a little bit more oomph. I mean, this is pretty good. I upped the infill in the walls on this, so this is pretty sturdy compared to the other one. But I want to be able to print it up in this upright position, and I think with that little rib that we got there and then supports, we should be good to go. So yeah, that's what we end up having. That is the thing. It works. It's got a little bit of slot to it. As far as, you know, you can see you got some slop in there. But I could probably do like 0.25, make it a little bit wider. So we can do that. So that is what we have. That's what we ended up doing there. My latte's getting cold. I got my little battery powered mug, but let's just kill it and be done with it. Let's see. Struggling is the fun. Ferrith says, really good job, Steve. All that in Tinkercad. Oh my God, I can't imagine. Inordinate amount of hours that I spent on that, because yeah, if you before getting down to even the first version, if we take a look at it, yeah, there's a lot of crap there. So you can see how my mind works is this right here. It's just all over the place. Yeah. It is. You're playing 3D design in hard mode. I don't know. I think I'm still playing with crayons. Yeah, I really need to buckle down and try to learn, like I said, FreeCAD or something like that, and take some time to do it. But I just have squirrel moments. I just want to hurry up and get it done, and I don't want a big learning curve. So, I don't know. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Let me put these guys back. Otherwise, they'll get lonely. So, I guess we could put these guys away and those. So I need to have like a fantasy shelf. I need to have like a fantasy shelf. I've got like kind of a marble and a character shelf. Warhammer, more fantasy, kind of Warhammer-ish stuff. So we'll see how that goes. Yes, crayons designing airplanes. That's hard mode. Okay, then I'm all about the hard mode. Hard rock mode. My dad started using Fusion now. Wow, I'm still logged into his Bamboo Labs account and see him printing out all his creations. That is cool. Ferrith ended up getting his dad a 3D printer, and I guess his dad is going hog wild with that, so that is cool. That is cool. So, we can leave this stuff here because I'm going to play with that some more. This needs to go back. And I have all this stuff here. And in case you're wondering what that stuff is, boom. So we might go over here and play a little bit. Man, I'm getting hungry. Hungry. Yeah, I stayed up until about 1 in the morning. Holy crow. It was after 1. So yeah, it's been the interesting little endeavor. But it's the weekend, right? If you remember him, we're testing out our Paint Pro, the acrylic paint pens. Still don't like the red. Horrible, horrible red. It looks like red, but it's more like Hello Kitty pink. So, for that, here is, I used the paint pen to color this in and then do that, and that came out kind of good. So I kind of got that. And then we have these guys here. And so I decided maybe I should do some more painting. And, oh, let me get this. I have all kinds of crap. More plastic. And I have plastic on the floor. I can feel it. I have to get out the vacuum, little dust devil, get that going. So, yeah, so what I was thinking about doing was taking some of this stuff and doing some of the coloring on this. So I don't know if I'll do this all on this one. Maybe I'll just do a little bit. And let's do something interesting. Kind of like this one, or let's start out with could start out with a small one. So you got this guy here. So this could work out. And we could take a look, because we've got the white, but then we also have that. That's probably pretty too close. And the white is on the desk. Let's see. So Ferris is dead. He's up to V3 on his camera mount now. Wow. I passed out at 7 p.m. last night. Must have caught something over the holidays. 10 hours of sleep, I'm back to normal. Yeah, last night I did the same thing. I think I went to bed at like 9 and then woke up at 7, something like that, which is really unusual for me. So this, or something like that. I think we want some white for some contrast. We'll see how that goes. So let's take a little look-see. We'll do some on the back. And that is a real white color. Showing up. Paint pen's not bad. I mean, it works. But it just depends if you can get into all the places you need to. That seems to be the issue. So as long as the model isn't like terribly crazy, you should be all right. But it's nice that it's a pen and you just kind of, everybody knows how to use a pen. Unless you look at my notes. Yeah, don't look at my notes. My notes that I had for, that I wrote down, holy crow. People are going to be like, how did you survive? Who dresses you in the morning? Yeah, my handwriting is atrocious. But there's a story behind the handwriting. It actually ends up, there is a story. And I was the victim of the Catholic Church. In more ways than one. But the way that I'm talking about is I was left-handed. And so I went to Catholic school for a while when I was young, and it ends up that, oh, by the way, if you're left-handed, that's Satan's hand. And so things didn't, excuse me, the hand of Satan, yes. So the nuns beat me mercilessly because I was left-handed, and I have horrible penmanship. And of course, everything was better left-handed, but you know, we don't want to do the left hand because, again, like that's you're made in the image of God, but your left hand is evil. You can't be writing or doing anything artistic with your left hand because that's the hand of the devil. I don't know where they got that from. So, yeah, there was that. So they forced me at an age to write with my right hand, but I hated it, and so I didn't pay attention. And it was just like if I could barely make characters, and if I could kind of make them out, I would be happy. That would be it for me. Um, so yeah, my penmanship is horrible. That turns out pretty good. That's kind of a nice color. It's a nice contrast. I like that actually. Throw a little bit of a wash on there to get into the details. I think that could work out well. So you can either go with the dark rocks and the white, or you could do white on this as well. You know, let's make this white and see how that turns out. But yeah, that's the story of my horrible penmanship, is because of the nuns. And that was back when nuns could beat you mercilessly with the rulers. And then, what was the other thing they'd end up doing? Oh, they grab you by your ear and then by the nape of your neck, you know, the little short and curlies that you got back there. And, oh, that was horrible, horrible. And then, yeah, one day, nun did that to me and I got mad and I punched the nun in the stomach. Yeah. And I punched her with my left hand, so I blame Satan. Wasn't me. It was it was the hand of the devil that did it. It wasn't me. Yeah, that didn't fly. Yeah, everything's Satan's fault until you do it. So I don't know. It was just kind of, yeah. I came away with some very strange religious ideas and revelations. So how does that turn out? Does that look pretty good? That's not bad either. Do a combination color there. So we could go back and do some brown on these as well. So let's pick out another one. Yeah. So Catholic school was an interesting, and we're not even talking about the Catholic priest. We won't even get into that. But there was one priest that was really cool, Father O'Malley. And he had the accent, the whole 9 yards. I swear to God, he was, and he had a lead foot. Oh my gosh. We'd go to the store, he'd pick up wine and stuff like that. And I was one of the altar boys. And he was a good priest. He's not one of those freaky ones. But he took a liking to me for whatever reason. And he was a real good father figure. I mean, it was kind of like those old time black and white movies, you know. What was that one movie with the father and he was like the kids and whatever. Not that he was doing the kids, but it was a good movie. I can't remember the name of it or who was the actor. I can see the actor in my head, but I can't remember his name. But anyway, it was kind of the similar thing. I'd go on errands with him and stuff like that, and you know, help carry groceries, and he'd teach me about life. And he taught me that going fast is not your fault. I remember we would like go to the store and, you know, post office or whatever. We'd do a bunch of stuff, do a bunch of errands. I remember 3 or 4 times he got pulled over for speeding, and it was just kind of like, I remember the first time I was like, oh my gosh, they pulled over the priest. They're going to go to hell. I don't know if that's true or not, maybe. But I know some priests are going to hell. Yeah, without a doubt. Or should, anyway. But, yeah, so the police pull him over, and I can't remember. It was like a Matador. I can't remember. It was an old car, bench seat in the front. It was kind of a green color. It was green or blue. And it was so long ago. So it ends up, police comes up, wearing the uniform, the whole 9 yards. He's like, Father O'Malley. He goes, again, we got to stop this. You're going a little bit too fast. it was always just a little bit too fast. He's like, oh, but I got to get some, speaking Korean. He's like, oh, but I got to go get the wine for communion. And yeah, he had the accent and everything. And he says, I hope to see you there, you and your family. And he was an Irish priest. And yeah, he was pretty cool. He taught me how to play chess. Like I said, he was one of the good ones. He wasn't one of the bad ones. But yeah, he was quite the interesting guy. Quite the interesting guy. Alrighty. Some interesting information, background on me. Yeah. I don't know if anybody knows. Has anybody else punched a nun in the stomach? Inquiring minds want to know. And if now you can say you know somebody who punched a nun. Yeah, like I said, that didn't go over well at all. And that's back when they could paddle you. And it was like a cricket bat. The paddle that they had holes in it, the whole 9 yards. It was like, holy crow. And then you'd have to bend down, grab your ankles, and in that position, and the priest, it wasn't Father O'Malley, this is a Catholic school that I went to, and that dude would just wind up like he's trying to hit a home run. Holy crap. It was just rough. But it got to the point of where, a few whacks and it was like, I can put up with the pain. And then they try to guilt you, you're really grieving God's heart. It's like, it's the hand of Satan that did it. It wasn't me. So, oh yeah, Catholic school. Ooh, Catholic school was rough. It was rough. I don't know if this was old school Catholic. This wasn't like the stuff you got nowadays where, people have phones and games and, anything like that. We had zero handheld devices. There was only one device that you held in your hand and you did that in private. That was our handheld device back in the day. But yeah, and some people held them longer than they should. And some priests would help you hold your handheld device. So, but yeah, it's very, very interesting childhood growing up. So it was a thing. But yeah. And as far as the education, I remember, they went over some Latin. It wasn't really a big thing, but they did some Latin words. And of course, I was the type of kid that if you didn't tell me why I needed to learn it and why it would benefit me to learn Latin, then yeah, I wouldn't really pay attention. I'd do enough to barely pass or get me kicked out or whatever. And then, yeah, thankfully, Latin was not a requirement for getting out of that class. Let's knock out a little one there. I need to have a trash can right here. That's what I need. I really need a trash can. Another trash can. As if I need another trash can. But I do. That would be nice. So yeah, fun stuff growing up. Everybody has different experiences. I just thought it was quite the interesting thing growing up. Dun, dun, dun. Yellow Tank says, are you right hand dominant now, or can you write with your left hand? Actually, I can't write with my left anymore because I was left hand dominant and I was left eye dominant, which is usually how it goes. And then they tried to beat the Satan out of my left hand and made me write with this hand, so I ended up eventually just writing with this, and I never wrote with this hand again. But when I got into the military, it ends up, they said, hey, everybody raise the hand that you write with. So I raised my right hand. Well, they took that as being, well, you're right-handed, you're right eye dominant. So when you're shooting, you're gonna be a right-handed shooter. But I was actually left eye dominant. And so I had some issues during qualification. But later, after I figured out, and then training in the military and shooting a lot and all that stuff, I was able to shoot with my right eye, but I could also shoot with my left. And then when I became a firearms instructor, that worked out great because then I could be cross-dominant and I could shoot either left-handed or right-handed. And then after that, that kind of worked out good because then I got into point shooting, and then shooting with an optic and stuff like that, you end up shooting with both eyes open. So I don't know. Maybe it's part of God's plan. But yeah, I haven't done anything with my left hand for a while, except for shooting and maybe a couple other things that we will not talk about because this is a family channel. Dysfunctional family, but it's a family channel. But it's not for kids, so yeah, there it is. Okay, another one. Just quick little one that we got there. Dun, dun, dun. Ferrithus says, I learned Latin in school. Turned out to be actually very helpful understanding other European languages, so long as they were written down. Yeah. Looking back, I wish I paid more attention. But again, I was under that thing that if you didn't tell me why I needed to learn it and why it would be good for me, I didn't want to learn it. So it's like, screw you. But looking back, yeah, I wish I had. I wish somebody explained it better to me as to why. If they said, hey, you could learn the secret language, and the secret codes and the Da Vinci Code and all that stuff, that really might have piqued my interest. So, that was a thing. Yellow Tang asks, what branch of service? I was in the Army. So I joined at 17. I turned 18 in basic training. And then every few years, because I only came in for like 2 years in the beginning, and then the recruiter, or the in-service recruiter, re-enlistment NCO, he'd pop his head in, and I'm getting close to getting out, and he's like, hey, so do you got anything planned out, for you getting out? And of course, no. I just work hard, play hard. So when it's time to re-enlist, and he's like, well, if you don't have a plan, it'd probably be a good idea to, stay in until you can come up with a plan. You can keep getting that steady paycheck, get food at the dining facility, you got a place to live. If you get out, good Lord, you're going to have to find a job, you're going to have to pay rent, you're going to have to, all these things. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to stay in. So I ended up doing 20 years in the Army, retiring. Which was good because that allowed me to retire early. So yeah, nice. Ferrith says, I shoot with my left, always need an ambidextrous gun. Yeah, I would shoot with both. That was pretty cool. And then when I started doing point shooting, and then I got to the point of where I was teaching that to law enforcement and officers and concealed carry on my classes, that because you shoot with both eyes open, boom, is an amazing skill to have. And, you know, whether you throw a red dot optic on your gun or whether you're just using your iron sights, point shooting is, I think that's a go-to thing. That is really, really important. But unfortunately, most law enforcement don't do that. So they just qualify like once a year and then that's it. And it's just very static. It's not dynamic. But when I was working, you know, military, obviously you have to be good at shooting. And then, yeah, it's kind of a thing. And definitely if you're working, you know, like I said, I work security, high-end security and stuff like that. And then when I was teaching people concealed carry and certifying those people, that was kind of a thing. So I taught the point shooting because that is so valuable. I was just there. Dun 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 dun. Fairth says, unfortunately, for most things, you only learn why they're useful to you after you learn them. Yeah. Yellow Tank says, I was medically dismissed from the Army in 1991. Got disabled while over in Iraq. Ooh, that sucks. Yeah, you gotta love the the gift that keeps on giving. Uncle Sam is really good at that. It's, yeah, I've got some issues, got some injuries. I went down in a helicopter in a training accident. I was actually here in Korea in 1989, and so that was fun. So that's how I herniated 3 discs in my back. So much joy and chronic pain, and then saw some other things that yeah, ended up with some mental issues. Not that I had any beforehand, but just throw them on top, keep adding more. And then, yeah. And of course, severe hearing loss, migraines, of course, the PTSD. Saw a guy get his head shot off with a 50 cal, caught around. It was during a training thing too. And they were doing, you had armored vehicles, you had a bunch of people getting out, and you had a guy in the back that was further back on a 50 on a 5.57. And yeah, he was laying down rounds with the 50, and he went a little bit too low and clipped a guy, and boom! It Joe got his head just exploded, gone. So that was a little harrowing. And then yeah, going down in the helicopter, mechanical issue. It wasn't like, you know, we got shot down or anything. It was a training mission. But the big thing is the helicopter landed on a sandbar. It was a Black Hawk, and it landed so hard the wheels went into the sand, and the belly bounced on the sand. And I was wearing a 75-pound ruck because I was the communications guy, so I had the radio and the batteries and all that stuff. And so that's what I ended up getting the herniated disc for. So that was fun. And then, of course, while you're in the military, here, have some Motrin. Had that stuff like candy. So that was fun. And then they started treating me with narcotics, and that was even more fun. And then I had PTSD issues, and then that was not fun, but I self-medicated with the pain meds that I was getting because, you know, hey, this will take care of your pain. And, you know, other things as well. So, yeah, yeah, there's some issues. Don't you love issues? I don't know why I'm doing the underside of his mouth. But, yeah. And now I pretty much don't like people. I mean, I like you all and everything. You all are great, but big crowds, all of that just really gets under my skin. Let's see. Yellow Tank says I was medically discharged from the Army in '91. Yellow Tank says, ouch. Yeah, it is. It is what it is. So, severe hearing loss. Let's see. Herniated disc, chronic pain. I've got degenerative disc disease on my back because of the herniated discs. I've got spinal stenosis. I've got radiculopathy in both my lower extremities. I have neuropathy. I have paresthesia in both feet. So paresthesia is like a wonderful sensation that is always there. And then combined with the radiculopathy and the nerve damage, my feet will hurt. And so if I go over, a few thousand steps a day or whatever, and it's like, ouch, hurts like shit. And then my back pain, then there's that. So, yeah, good stuff. And then migraines, and then I have tinnitus as well, so the ringing in the ears is constant. And for those of you who don't know, that is not fun. And then migraines from the tinnitus, and I've had migraines before, but definitely got worse because the tinnitus doesn't turn off ever. Oh my gosh. And sometimes it can get so bad. And it's even worse with a migraine. You get a migraine that just knocks you out, and then you have that constant ringing, and it's just like amps it up even more. I hate it. So either take drugs or, just kind of take a nap or whatever. So I'll take multiple naps in a week because of that. So when you see me on these feeds, and I'm happy-go-lucky, you're seeing the best part of me. The bad parts of me you don't want to see. And then let's see what else I got. Oh, I also got GERD. I got some stomach problems and issues there. Yeah, there's some fun stuff. And then there's more, but we're not going to bore you with that. We're just going to do this stuff here because this gives some enjoyment. I do really like this. And I don't know. I like the fact that I don't know. I like being around some people. I mean, obviously you all, but I don't know. The streaming has been really good for me because I'm able to talk about stuff, and whereas in real life it's just like awkward. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm in control of the stream. Maybe there's that. That has something to do with it. I don't know. Let's see. You're a better person after your life adventures. Sometimes. I'm better now, but I won't totally get fixed. Made me less patient. Yeah, I know that goes. Are you going to paint everything white? I don't think so. I think I'm going to paint this one white, and then maybe we'll try some other ones in a different color. But with the white, we could always put a wash over this stuff to kind of change the color of some of this stuff. So it's not everything is white. We have like an aged type of look to it with the washes on there. But I don't know how deep I'm going to get into that. But the pens make it easy, that's for sure. Do some weathering or whatever. But they're just terrain pieces, so it's not gonna. I don't want this to steal the limelight from the the miniatures. But it is kind of cool though. It is kind of neat. I like it. But I don't know any other colors that I could put on this. How's that turn out? We could probably go back and do some brown on the rocks. We'll get some of that darker color because I think like on this one it turned out pretty good. So we ended up doing some yellow on that, which is actually pretty good. You know, we'd have to put a wash on this, but I like the contrast of this as well. Let's do, we could do a little bit of a color thing that we got going on. You could probably give the rocks some more dimension and some brown. Yeah, that's exact. Great minds think alike. So we can go with, we'll do some little brown rock action. Get our rocks off. We're on. I don't know, you can get pretty detailed with this. I mean, it's just, I like the fact that it's nice and quick. And boom, we have a rock. Not bad. Let's just do a few select rocks. That way it just kind of breaks up all of that tan and khaki-ness that we got. But I like on these, this is printed at a 0.2 layer height, but you've got the layers on here, which really gives some added look to the rock, which is, it's actually very cool. I like it. So like that there. That comes out pretty good. We got Zombie Hunter here. Hey. Sweet. So yeah, little terrain features we're doing. Excuse me. Hope you don't mind. I gotta feed the face. Let's go ahead and we'll do this guy. Bertha says, I found 0.2 layer height usually detailed enough. Add some variable layer height for the smooth tops. Yeah, definitely. But the cool thing is on these rocks, I don't know if you can see the layer lines on that. How that kind of adds to the rocks and everything. I really like that. That makes it look really, really cool. all the layer lines on there. Yeah, I think that just looks really cool. I like it. Problem is we're not going to be able to get into the deep into the crevasse with our paint marker. But yeah, the variable layer height, for anybody's new, yeah, Ferrith has turned me on to that. And that has been pretty cool. Like when I did some of the masks for the Borderlands masks and stuff like that. Yeah. Definitely turned out nice. And it saves a lot of time on post-processing, and the print looks good. So you get a couple of benefits of that. So I got to thank Mr. Ferrithus for that. That little tip will definitely come in useful. So I pass that same information on to other people. And they're like, hey, that is cool. It works so well. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know. Professor Ferrithus told me about that. And he's, yeah. It works out really well. So yeah, that turns out pretty good. Let's try a yellowish color. You can see what that does. Agreed, makes a lot rocks look great. Zombie Hunter says looks great, yeah. Then Yellow Tang says, all of a sudden you started repeating yourself. I thought you were having it before a moment before I realized my cat scrolled the video back 10 minutes. I was like, what? I'm having a stroke? What? I'm having dementia? Thank you. Let's see what else we got. The cat scrolling back 10 minutes. Made my nephew a little dino that holds his pens. Came out very nice with the variable layer height. I know, that works out so good. I'm printing sand bath bowls for my quail. Cool. Nice. Let's try a little bit of... This might be a little bit too yellow. I don't know. That's yellow. That is yellow. The color that's on the marker and the color that it says it is, they don't match up. And it's more like that's almost kind of the same thing. It's just a little bit lighter. Ooh, oh, we got a broken spine we need to fix. We'll have a delay in our... Nope, that's not what I want. I want this. And I want this. Our UV resin from Green Stuff World. Or you can just get a bottle of clear resin for a 3D printer and spend 15-20 bucks or something and get a whole bottle, 1,000 milliliters or whatever it is. I don't know. And you will be good to go. And this stuff has saved a lot of stuff for me. And it's just so easy. Or super glue with a little bit of water as activator. Somebody gave me that advice too. Name begins with an F. And I was amazed. Doesn't take a lot to amaze me. So, boom, we're good. Booyah! We are good. Oh. Back to colors. That. This might work. That's a little yellowish. That's not bad either. Sure, let's go for it. Let's see, what else we got going on? But yeah, the Core 1L. I was so disappointed when Grant talked about that and the problems that they're having with that AC power Hoosie thing. It basically interrupts prints and the whole 9 yards. And it was like, no, don't tell me that. Kind of like when Batman became the bad guy. It's like, no, please don't. Oh, that's kind of a good color. Nice. Oh yeah, nice. If it was a little bit more translucent, that would be nice. Kind of like speed paints. That would be nice. Getting hungry, hippo. I'm not going to get too crazy painting the underside of that because you're never going to see it, but that turned out good. Yeah. Nice. I like it. That's a good color. Let's see, what else we got? Dun, 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 dun. I like your workbench. I've sent you a picture of my workbench in the email. Oh, okay, cool. I'll check that out. Zombie says I'm printing the feet for my life-size B9 robot from the 1966 television show Lost in Space. Wow, I remember that. I remember watching that. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. It was like, oh, look at that, it's a robot. We can do a little bit of lighter brown. Oops. That's going to be close to what this brown is, isn't it? It's almost like what just a tiny bit. It's just a little bit of an off color. I don't think that's enough to, I don't know, it could work on this. So I'd have to do a couple of coats on there, but just do enough just to break up all the brown that we got on there that we did. Not too bad. just do a couple rocks. It's a really light color, but gives a little bit of distinction. We can just do some tops up there and just change a little bit, just a little bit. Add a little bit of color in there. It's not bad. Kind of a lighter color. Let's see, what else do we got going on? George says, looks good. Can't type, I'm peeling potatoes. George is the chef of the group. Very cool. Back in 2015, I designed a Jupiter 2 replica to 3D print as one of my first projects in Fusion. Wow. Man, Fusion's one of those like crazy ones too. Let's do some brown on this guy. I'm digging the brown. Today is Saturday. I don't think we have anything going on today. Our daughter is in Hawaii, so she's taking some time off to go there. One day we want to go back to Hawaii. That'll probably be next December or January. I want to go see the whales again. We saw them when we lived there for a year, which was really cool, but I wanted to get, and we saw some, but it wasn't like up close and personal whale watching. But it was still pretty cool. And hopefully, we're looking at maybe March, change our travel plans to March for the Philippines, and we go swim with a whale shark. That would be cool. Yeah, so we'll just do a few little stones here. We won't do them all. Just kind of break up all of that khaki color that we ended up painting this. Spray can. Krylon to the rescue for the win. We'll do a little one there. There we go. It turned out good. My hands are shaking. So yeah, not bad. Not bad. I want to try to get a better camera. I was thinking about getting that YOLO Live S3. That looks good. And we could probably do a couple, because it autofocus is really good compared to kind of like what we got on here. So probably picking up one of those. We'll see. Hopefully it works well. I really wish the Elgato face cam, the one I have at my desk, that it would have done a better job. But it doesn't have autofocusing. The picture looks great. You can do a lot of tweaking with it and everything. And the software is good, but it doesn't autofocus. And when you zoom in, it loses some resolution. which isn't a big deal killer, but it's it's a thing. And this foam pen, the tip on this is getting worn. So, interesting. I'm just using it too much on this rough surface of the rock. 0.02 layer lines are kind of wrecking it. Let's see. Not bad. And this Logitech Brio camera, which is the one we're watching the desk on, it's got some decent focus, but it's not like, it's still lacking. For something like this, for painting, that would be, I don't know. We'll leave that there. Let's do this. But yeah, there are people out there with cameras. They'll buy like a mirrorless camera, and just for the body, it's like $1,000. So you get like the background blur. You know, you're clear, and you can see, and everything's awesome. And then the background, because of the focal length, it ends up that the background is blurred a little bit, which is a great effect. But good Lord, like $1,000 for just the camera body, and then you're looking at, you know, another 5, 7. I've seen people spend $2,000 just on the lens alone. So it's like, if I win the lottery, there will be signs. But until then, we're gonna go for the $200 camera, and we'll see how that goes. Turned out pretty good. Me like. Daddy like. I'll have to switch over to the fine tip because that's really chewing up that. Bertha says, I have an Insta360 link. Can really recommend it. 4K, and it's on a motorized arm. Oh, so it's a PTZ. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, it came out nice, zombie. Staircases were tricky. Let's see how this came out. So not bad. Not bad. Turned out good. But that YOLO Live, that looks really good. I'll have to look in that Insta360 link and see how that looks for like the auto zoom, automatic zoom and everything. That could be an interesting one. You could end up doing. Let's take this, since we got this here. And what we'll end up doing, since it's got some cracks and crevices in there, what we can end up doing is we can do a wash on there and see if we can get some more details out of these rocks. And I just happen to have some dark tone wash from Army Painter. Today's episode is not being sponsored by Army Painter, because I buy all this crap my own. I need a brush. Do I have like a crappy brush? Yeah, I think this will work. We got a sponge. We could do some little bit of little sponge work. SpongeBob. But yeah, I'll have to look at that Insta 360 link and see how the autofocus is. That Yellow Live S3 looks really, really good though. The focus on that is just, I'm impressed. Alrighty. Let's load this thing up and see what we can get. Just go ahead and we'll do it on now this is the dark wash. So this might end up being ooh, that's coming out better already. I get a little bit more on there. Oh, that looks good. Nice. Yeah, the Logitech Brio, it takes a little bit for it to focus. It has problems. So, yeah, it is. It's an issue. Kind of get those. Oh yeah, I get some good depth to that. So with that, let's try it out on some white. Dun, 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 dun. Ferris says, yeah, I just got a nice camera. Heavily used, otherwise unaffordable to me. Have to wait for an adapter to use the lens. Comes tomorrow, very frustrating. Nedventive says that they ordered the Insta360 Link C. That's the one without the gimbal. Oh, okay, so this, okay, got it. Cool. Yeah, and I thought about maybe getting something with the PTZ on it, because that could come in handy at times. Maybe not a bunch, but you know, do an unboxing if I ever do an unboxing again. But yeah, that looks like the considering that at times. So yeah, maybe a I don't know, maybe a warmer wash on this would be good. I'll try that on the next one. I mean, the dark is good. It's not bad. Nice is the one with the gimbal, the one you can save different views and switch between them back and forth. Did get it as a sale. Yeah, I'm all about the sales. All about the sales. If I can get it refurbished, I will go for that. Like I said, I've never bought a new car in my life. Always drove around beaters and stuff like that. But refurbished stuff, refurbished Macs. Nice. Okay, so that turned down a little. Let's see if I can get it to focus. A little bit of color. Maybe on the next one we'll do a brown, kind of a brown wash, and we'll see how that goes. Flesh wash, strong. Let's try a little bit of flesh wash. Try it on this small piece here. See how that one comes out. That should be a little bit browner, more sun-kissed. Definitely warmer, that's for sure. Let's see how it dries. So you got some different color options. This is off that yellow pen, and that just turned out good. The dark pen, the brown pen with the yellowish. Put a little bit of whatever we got left on there. Kind of age that a bit. I think we'll be good. This big boy, we did flesh. Let's do that dark again. On the big tusk. So yeah, I'd really like to get a good setup, just a setup that I can be happy with, and then I mean, you got people that have like the $2,000 or $3,000 cameras, which is cool. You know, it's cool they can afford it. But if I win the lottery or get an inheritance, there will be signs. That is for sure. And just keep watching for deals. So maybe one of these days, one of those Somebody will be like, my husband used to do streaming and he's gone and I don't know what to do with this stuff. I'd be like, oh, I'll take it off your hands. I know somebody here locally was selling a bunch of Warhammer models still in the box, untouched, unopened, and he just wanted like 250 bucks for them, and it was like, yeah, it was a screaming deal. So I was like, I was just too late, and it was 250 bucks. It was like, I can't justify that. This will come out good. Wash can cover a multitude of sins. And it helps you on your minis. I'm sorry if this is old news, but do you play TTRPGs? Tabletop gaming? RPG gaming? No. It has been, last time I played D&D was like when I was 15. And then I went and did adult army things and did adulting. But I was big into D&D way back in the day. First edition of the Player's Guide and Dungeon Master Handbook and all that stuff. That was the bomb. Had little miniatures. I don't know if I think I've mentioned it on other streams. Of course, all of that was from Satan, according to my parents, who got religion. They threw away those and all of my comic books, which I had a lot of, because apparently God doesn't like that stuff. Yeah. This turned out good. Let's see how this came out. Not bad, not bad. Kind of a gray, set dark wash. Should be interesting. So we got a variety of colors. And we haven't done wash on a rock. Well, I don't want to do it on that because that'll be like the same. Do that with rock and brown though. Ooh, this fine tip on this is very stiff. It's not like that brush tip, which is kind of like a real foamy tip. So I can see why this is a fine tip. That's going to take a lot to go over. So we'll go back to this. I just put it on its side and boom. Yeah, so all my D&D stuff is gone. That pissed me off as well. So, yeah, it is. It is what it is. skull. Oh well. That's just terrain. What the heck? Not a big deal. We could go through and we could kind of do some edge highlighting if we wanted to. That would be an interesting little thing to do. I would like that. It's not a bad little rock job. Come on, focus. Yeah. Yeah, it just has some issues focusing. But yeah, not bad. Not bad for a little acrylic paint pen. I think if you like doing, like if you were traveling or going on vacation or something and you just wanted to paint some minis as, you know, just something to do, I think it could be a pretty cool little thing. So, yeah. Alrighty. There's always a year-end money juggling. Same for me right now. Holidays are expensive. Yeah. Is it Satan? Yes. Yes, if you got the Saturday Night Live reference, you get 2 stars. So I think we did pretty good. I think we did good. With it, speed paints. Speed paint. Shall we? Let's do a little practice one on this guy here. Speed paint. We have bony matter. Bony matter speed paint. Yellow Tank says, another stupid question. No. What do you make the minis for? I make the minis to paint them, to give me something to do besides going to the gym and to escape from the world, and just when I'm having a bad person day, bad brain day, I like doing this stuff because it keeps me focused, and yeah, it's kind of a good thing there. So I do that, just do little displays. Yeah, so that's basically it right there. Nothing real crazy. I do make some stuff for my daughter, so she's into D&D and all that stuff. So she plays online on Zoom now that she's in Korea and most of the other people are in the US. Let's see how this turns out. Ooh, that's kind of a, what is that, bony matter? Yeah, a little bit of a different color. You can see let's see if we can get this focus. So we got a little bit of a different color there. Kind of a little bit of a warm-ish. Warm-ish color. Get those into the recesses. But yeah, I would like to maybe get back into some tabletop gaming. It's been so long, but I don't know. I'm busy enough as it is. I get to hang around you cool people, so there's my socialization for what we got going on. Let's try another color. Let's try something a little bit more ochre clay. Let's see what that comes out. That's going to be a real yellow-ish color. And another brownish decay. It's going to be too close. You want something that's got a little bit of a contrast to really make it pop. Maybe this yellow will do it. I just play online. However, I create 28mm scaled building and terrain. Oh, really? Cool. You got like a YouTube page or whatever? Let's see how this. Let's cover up that one we just did and we'll see. This is kind of like a, ooh, that's an interesting color. Dun, dun, dun. George says, hey, I met a person as a kid that still believed that the TV was the devil box and that a camera could steal your soul. No one but my wife will ever see the stuff. Really? Why not? You threw it out there. You said, hey, you make terrain and all that stuff, and only your wife will see it. So you put it out here, which is telling me that deep down in the recesses of your mind, you want somebody else to see it. You send me a picture. If you go to my email address is thevariedlife@gmail.com. And I have people that send me stuff. And of course you throw it up, you know, some people, you know, show what other people have done and stuff like that. But I don't show it unless people give me permission to. And I don't show people's email addresses or anything like that. But send me a picture of it. I'd like to see your terrain. I would, definitely. That's for sure. This is an interesting color, ladies and gentlemen. This is a really contrasty type of. Look at that. That would create some good contrast. With that yellow, that actually looks pretty decent. I like that. Focus. Yeah, not bad. Okay, okay. Ochre clay. George Yellow Tank says, I've learned that there are weird people everywhere. Yeah. I really wish I could play in person with it. Well, dude, send me a picture of it. I want to check it out. Now you got me really wanting to see it. Nice, but weird people, I love fishing with them. Swedish Ford says, I have a good time because it's bed now and it's time for me to go. Okay, all right. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by. We had a good time. Good stuff. Matter of fact, I think myself, because it is 10:39, we have been at this for a minute, so I think we'll end up doing, we'll go back to the table. That's off, and I think we ended up with some pretty good some pretty good models here. We got some good details and different variations. Let me see if I can stand up and kind of show these. So yeah, some pretty good looking details that we got there for some terrain. These were made by Cast and Play on My Mini Factory. So yeah, turned out good. I'll have to go through and do some of the other ones, but good. Let me clean this up a little bit. I gotta clean my brush, because if I don't, see, I'll end up all yellow ochre-ish. I don't want that stuck in there. So what we'll end up doing is we'll just let that soak and get real in there. And then we'll take those three and we'll clean those up a little bit later. Booyah! That's what we got. Alrighty. Back to the table we are. Okay, so what we ended up is we did some stuff today. We talked about Prusa and how the Core 1L is having some problems with that issue with the main voltage coming into it and causing errors and causing prints to not print. Because of said error, hopefully it's just a firmware issue, but Grant from 3D Musketeers was obviously having some problems, and a number of other people are having that same problem too. That's distressing because I want to get the Prusa Core 1L. So good thing I can't pay for it right now, kind of push it down the road. But what are the odds that a printer that's new on the market needs a little bit of work after it's released? I know it's impossible, right? That would never happen. So we talked about that. We talked about our little miniature holder thing that we ended up making. Still got a couple of little details. This is version 2. And yeah, using hair bands and rubber bands and all that stuff to be able to hold miniatures. A 32 millimeter base and up to 50. So I think it's pretty good. A little bit of slop in that, but I think that's okay. And we need to do a hole right there. And then we also did another little brace for that as well. And I've already made modifications for the next one, but this is pretty sturdy. Do more infill, and yeah, version 2. So gonna have a version 3 and maybe 4 and 5. Hopefully we can get everything settled by this next one that gets done. So keep the fingers crossed. I think we've met all the hurdles that we have. The other thing we ended up doing is going and painting all of that stuff. Yeah, so we did some pretty good stuff. Let's see if we can kind of zoom in there. You can see we did some terrain pieces, and then there's pieces that we ended up painting and doing all that stuff there. Little paint marker guy, the multicolored Jacob and the coat of many colors. He was our test piece for those acrylic markers. So yeah, we ended up doing that. And so that was kind of cool. Yeah. So we did a lot of stuff. So we had a good one here, and we are rocking at just over 3 hours. So it has been a while. We talked about some other stuff, how I punched a nun in the gut and lived to tell about it. How my left hand is from Satan, and that's why my handwriting is so atrocious. So yeah, see that? That's why my right hand and why I'm so atrocious. Oh, let's see. We got Zombie Hunter. He's come back and said, "Hey, you're back. I'm just about ready to call this. Definitely getting hungry, so I need to put some food down my pie hole." So we got that. Swedish Forge, right. What is that? The devil. Yeah, I think it's going to be it. Ferris says, enjoy your day, Steve. Take care. Good seeing you and you as well, sir, and everybody else on the feed. I really appreciate it. Before you go, do me a favor. Do me a favor, everybody. And if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, that would help me out a lot. I would really, really appreciate it. And if you want to send me an email, here's my email address, theverylife, or official theverylife@gmail.com. So, yeah, Yellow Tang, send me pictures of your terrain. I want to see it. I won't show it to anybody else, but I want to see it. And you threw it out there. You gotta let me see it. You gotta send me the email, show me some pictures, and if you want me to delete them afterward, I will. But I just want to see what you got, because now you got me really interested. And making terrain is kind of wild, especially if it's buildings and all that stuff. I want to take a look at that. So send me an email. There's people over here that bought me coffee. Don't worry about buying me coffee. Just like and subscribe to the channel, the video. You know the deal. Click the button, ring the bell, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, we got that going on. Yeah, and I think that's it. We talked about other stuff and had a good time, had a good stream, got great people, good advice. I really appreciate that as well. We got some super smart people. So they say, if you want to get smarter, hang around smart people. So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm here, is because of you make me better, and I need all the help I can get, Lord knows. Okay, so with that, Zombie Hunter kicks it off and says, see you, everyone. Have a good one. Boom, there it is. And hopefully we'll have happy printing, painting, and every other thing that you end up doing during 2026. So looking forward to the new year and seeing what it brings, whether it's printers or cosplay or swords or tabletop games or, I don't know, a bunch of other interesting stuff. Hopefully you have a good one this year. All right, with that being said, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it, and we will see you on the next video. Peace. Peace. We're out of here. We're out of here.